possibly was a little bit like watching an Irish team chasing a game. All they needed was to bring Gary Doherty on sort of up top and just get it up to him.
But I think if they come up against a top team to test them defensively, they might struggle.
I mean, listen, we need to be mature as a nation and everything. It still would be funny if Senegal beat England. I think we're allowed to say that without sort of it reflecting badly on us. I mean, it would be.
Love is blind for Netherlands. Messi is A+ as Argentina edge Australia, and a Warsaw-packed defence might be needed to stop a French advance today. Later we'll be joined by Pico Lopes to discuss Senegal's chances against England this evening. But first, Daniel McDonnell in Qatar. How was your Saturday?
Yeah, it was okay. I went along to watch Netherlands against the USA. It was my first time seeing the Dutch in the flesh in the competition. It wasn't as close a game as I expected. As much as, I mean, it technically was 2-1 for a period, like with 15 minutes to go, and you're thinking, okay, is this going to be tight? Is this going to be a dramatic conclusion? But then sort of the Dutch put it to bed afterwards, and yeah, I mean, what were the halftime stats? I think it was like possession was something like over 60% or something for the USA, or certainly that ballpark figure. But you always felt like the Dutch were in control, and like Pulisic had that missed chance in like the second, third minute when people were just settling into the game. Probably thought he was offside until you saw the replays. But it was only afterwards you realised what a big moment that was. But yeah, it was sort of a little bit underwhelming, the game, I have to say. I think it was that second goal before half time from Blin sort of killed it off, really. And there wasn't a huge amount, I don't believe anyway, of encouragement that the USA could take from even the second half. I mean, they were a classic situation that a team is 2-0 down. Yeah, you get a lot of the ball, you get a certain amount of chances, but the fact that the Dutch were able to turn it on and actually probably could have scored more on the break when they did. Yeah, I was expecting a better game, and then I was able to nip out and actually have a bite to eat and watch Argentina Australia, which probably delivered more drama than Holland USA when it came to it. I don't know what your take on the games was, but that was certainly my feeling anyway.
Yeah, it was a strange kind of day because, like, you go back to last Tuesday and, you know, there was Iran, USA, and every day since then, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there was every game you're watching almost, but with one eye on another game. So it was like, what does that goal mean for this team in the other match? What does this, you know, you had the Costa Rica, Germany, Spain, and Japan situation, that kind of madness. So it was kind of hard to get your head around watching a single game, which was just in front of you, without the permutations of what's going on elsewhere, and the kind of watching it was kind of, your head was kind of buzzing watching those games over the past few days. So when it came to it then that, you know, both games yesterday, I mean, for the sake of a neutral, if you like, you needed USA and Australia to go ahead in those games. And the fact that they didn't, especially in the Dutch game where, you know, they scored so early and then they got another one just before half time. And there was just an element of control really from the favourites in both that had been missing from a lot of the group stages. And so, like, it was a perfectly normal, I guess, last 16, you know, set of games where, you know, you have group winners against group runners up, and in a way that's what's meant to happen. But I think underwhelming was the phrase that you used there, and it did feel a bit that way. I mean, the Aussies, in fairness to them, they put up a good fight, but I mean, the Messi, like, I know you always have Messi masterclass, and it was only Australia, but you know, we've seen other players like, say, you know, the likes of De Bruyne, people who have thought of as been superstars for this World Cup, who really failed to kind of put their team on their shoulders. And, you know, Messi did that last night.
Yeah, look, I think Australia got a little bit of a hard rap probably from people during the tournament. Like, I think they're one who go out probably having given absolutely everything, you know, and probably pushed themselves to the ceiling of what they can achieve. Maybe like USA didn't quite do that. I mean, it's strange the day it is, like, it was USA and Australia, like two potential like growth areas for the game, you know, that both have developed their own leagues and trying to move along at a certain pace of development. And I mean, the USA are further along the road than Australia, definitely, and where their players are playing, like they're doing much better. But Australia were actually, when it came to the crunch, they at least caused a little bit more problems for the top dog they were playing. And it was sort of comical watching them in the last sort of few minutes. It possibly was a little bit like watching an Irish team chasing a game in sort of
Yeah.
days of old, where it was like all they needed was to bring Gary Doherty on sort of up top and just get it up to
Yeah.
him. Because it was, and they got their chance. Like, this is the thing, like they did create their chance in the end. And I think actually, I think there's something in this. Like I wasn't at the Argentina game, but the scenes of celebration afterwards, you could even feel it coming through the TV, and the emotion, like the wave of the emotion that Argentina bring with them, like and that's around their games, it has to be draining for the players in some way too. Like, I mean, every big win is like a cup final style celebration, and I mean, that's wonderful, right? It's exactly the atmosphere that everyone loves and craves, and it's a very different feel in Argentina games to other games. But like, it must be an element of it is like emotionally exhausting. Like, there was an epic element to that game when, in fact, really, with a 2-goal lead, it should have been dull. You know, like they didn't actually
it should have been.
kill it. And I don't know if like they come out of it with their reputation enhanced, or more, as you mentioned, like Messi like was sort of trying to put a couple of them on the plate for Lautaro in the last couple of seconds, and like he kept doing it. But I was watching a game with someone, and it was sort of striking that you would have thought with his age, right, there might be a half a temptation to, like, at 2-0, maybe even like, do you take him off, even though like it's like six days until their next game. They had been complaining about the tight turnaround from their last group game to this one, and I kind of wondered, would they do it? But then you don't want to end up like Uruguay, where you've got Suarez on the bench and you suddenly need a goal, you know, and that's the thing. Like, so Messi still had to give everything of himself for like the whole 98 minutes or whatever it was. That's your only slight thought. Like, did they come out with a reputation enhanced? I'm not sure that it does.
Yeah, I absolutely see what you're saying. The amazing thing with Messi, like at times where he was holding the ball up, he was one of the only players who could bring control to the game. Where, you know, some certain teams control the game by, you know, Manchester City at club level, or Spain, where if they're winning, they'll pass the ball around the pitch and take the sting out of the game. Now, Australia weren't good enough, if you like, to press or that kind of thing. But Messi would get the ball and he'd just hold it for 10, 15, what felt like, maybe it wasn't 15 seconds, but it felt like 15 seconds. And the Aussies, despite probably being, you know, in physical terms, maybe stronger and faster than Messi in that situation, he was able to just engineer space and a break and all those kind of things that, like, the Aussies were very much, you know, it was attacking by numbers kind of thing, that you get enough balls into the box launched from somewhere just inside the opposition half and you might get a break. But the one thing Argentina did quite well, particularly with Messi, was, you know, limited their ability to get on those balls by just carrying it up the pitch. But I mean, as you say, like, if they play the same way against Netherlands, you would expect Netherlands to have a bit more quality, that they could open them up. So it's going to make for an interesting quarterfinal, all right.
Yeah, and I suppose, I know, like I said, it was a slightly underwhelming day, but I mean, maybe it's the price that you pay to get the heavyweight quarterfinals that you want. I mean, this is the slight dilemma around this stage of the competition, that you're naturally rooting for the, like, I can't speak for everyone, but there's always a tendency I'll go on the underdog, like, you know, and a lot of Irish people will probably be rooting for Senegal against England. And I mean, listen, we need to be mature as a nation and everything. It still would be funny if Senegal beat England.
Yeah.
I think we're allowed to say that without sort of it reflecting badly on us. I mean, it would be, or maybe that's just my personal opinion. But in saying that, you'd love to see France play England. You know, and it's a similar, you know, okay, I'm not sure if Poland are the people's choice team with the way that they've played in the group stages, even in Poland, just sort of getting the flavour of what's around there. But like, I mean, if Australia had some, if they'd taken that injury time chance and they brought it to penalties and beat Argentina, right, it'd be an amazing story in the here and now. But then you'd have a week building up towards Holland and Australia, and you sort of have a feeling what way that one would go. Whereas you get your Holland, Argentina, and your sort of France, England now, and do you want that trend to continue? Like do you start to sort of salivate about Brazil, Argentina semi-final, or Holland, Brazil, or whatever it might be? So that is the one thing about this round. Like you want drama, but you maybe don't want too much drama, just in the context of these quarterfinals that we're all sort of eyeing up in our heads.
Yeah. And as you said, Dan, England and France are both in action today, hoping to set up a quarter-final against each other. And after the break, we'll be joined by Shamrock Rovers defender and Cape Verde international Pico Lopes to discuss Senegal's chances against England. Pico, thanks for joining us. How are you keeping?
All good, Aidan. All good, sorry. Enjoying the World Cup as I am. A few shocks there the last few days.
Yeah, there's been a bit of madness about the games. It's kind of almost feels like the knockout stage has started around early in the last round of games.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I think a lot of teams might be guilty of playing safe in the group stages, and that's probably come back to haunt them now. And as you say, it's come to the end of the group games, and now teams can't afford to play safe in the knockout stages. So I think it's setting up for a really good round of 16.
Yeah, we discussed the African teams a fair bit last time. They've been pretty good with Senegal, Morocco. They've been strong. Ghana gave a decent account of themselves, albeit came up short.
Yeah, they've been really good. I think Morocco getting through was fantastic. I think they're a really strong nation, and surprising to see them. They're kind of a bit of an underdog in the group, but I think Morocco had to show they're a really strong side, and I think they'd be a really big threat for anyone to get going forward. Ghana were unlucky today, but in the end, I don't think they had enough firepower. I was a big fan of Kudos in this tournament. I thought he was exceptional throughout and probably the only one who can hold their head high. But I think attackingly, they just didn't have enough firepower and they leak goals, which in tournament of football is never a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. What about Senegal? You had an interesting experience against them in the AFCON on a personal level. Can you fill us in what happened there?
To put it mildly. Yeah, so we got drawn to play against Senegal in the last 16 when we made out of our group, and we were actually quietly confident about it, although they're the number one team in Africa. We looked at them playing in the tournament and we felt that they probably over-relied on Mane to get a lot of their goals and a lot of their attacking play going. And we felt we could lack them defensively. But then obviously the game panned out. 2 days before, half our team came down with food poisoning, including myself. And that was right up until the game, which probably finished my match 45 minutes early after getting sick at half time. And then we went down to 9 men as the game went on. Mane pops up with a goal after being concussed. So he went off once he scored, and then we were pushing towards the end, and they got a second goal, I think, in the 93rd minute. But it was a fantastic experience, as I said, to play the number one team in Africa, the team that went on to win the African Cup of Nations. It's probably not a bad thing to say we were knocked out by the champions.
Absolutely, yeah. And in this tournament, I mean, the Mane blow that happened so close to the beginning of the tournament, I think people felt that might be a knockout blow from one they wouldn't recover from. But I guess the likes of, Mendy has been brilliant, but the likes of Gueye and people like that have really stepped up.
Yeah, definitely. And look, don't get me wrong, there is some big leaders in that team, as you mentioned, Mendy and Koulibaly, and even Sarr has that experience of playing at a really high level with Watford. So they do have some standout stars. And to be fair to them, they look good defensively. I think it's at the other end of the pitch where they struggle to score goals and maybe have that attacking threat and really pin teams back for large periods. But they've done well to get out of the group, and it sets up a nice tie against England.
And what do you make of our chances against England?
I find it very hard for them to progress. I think with the strength England have in attack, I think it'll be too much. Again, the only weakness I see in England is probably the defence, although Maguire and Stones and Co have been really good so far. But I think if they come up against a top team to test them defensively, they might struggle. I just don't think Senegal have that threat without Mane at the moment. And I think they'll have too much for them in attacking areas to keep a clean sheet.
Mm-hmm. And if you were like the centre backs hat on, if you like, where England obviously Kane up front, usually pushing up against the centre backs, and then you have those guys in behind them coming from all angles. Is it a communication thing from a defensive point of view to just make sure that everyone's switched on, or can you organise your shape in such a way? Do you think that you're able to not necessarily negate that threat, but kind of reduce it? So guys aren't running in behind you. If you were if you were setting up to play against England in your own position, what are the sort of things that you'd be really keeping an eye out for?
Definitely, obviously, Kane is a big one. Obviously, being a centre half, you mightn't find yourself up against him a lot of the time because he likes to drop in and do his work like sort of deeper. And then when he's in the box, he's such a threat. So I suppose you're talking to your midfielders just to let them know where Kane is at all time. And when he comes in the box, you have to mark him even if it doesn't look like he's going to get the ball. It seems to find its way to him. And I suppose you are organising your defensive units. England have such a threat in wide areas, especially like the Saka play. Foden plays out there, Rashford, who's starting to hit a bit of form. So you need to be good 1v1 defending, and you need to help out your team all over the park. It's going to be really difficult for Senegal. It's even from an organisation point of view, as you say, the movement, the combinations that England possess. You can do all the talking in your world, and you still might get undone. So you need that bit of luck as well. You need a goalkeeper to have a good game. But I just feel it's probably too much for Senegal at this moment.
Mm-hmm. And just moving on to the other game on Sunday with France and Poland. Of all the teams that went through, I think Poland had probably, there was very few people other than, let's say, Poles, very few neutrals, should we say, supporting them in the way it happened. Can you see them doing anything with France, or is it just that's it looks a very, very tough, tall order?
Yeah, look, you know what? I actually fancied them to beat Argentina. I just thought after Argentina's last game, I thought if Mexico had a bit more about them in attack, that they could actually get something out of the game. It wasn't to be, and Argentina obviously won the game. I just felt with likes of Lewandowski, I know Milik was on the bench, I just thought they might have a bit more of a threat. But I thought that tactics were all wrong against Argentina. They isolated Lewandowski, they dropped off the game, and was sort of happy to kind of just lose the game and hope the result went for them in the other game, and they ended up going through on yellow cards, which is it's not something you want to sort of leave it down to. It's not, you don't want to leave it in the hands of yellow cards. You want to be there on merit and try and win the game, qualify out of the group. So after that performance, I can only see France winning, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm. So France and England for you, and set up an interesting quarter final.
Yeah, that'd be a great quarter final to talk about, and I suppose from a neutral point of view and as a spectacle, it's probably the quarter final you want to see as well. Two big teams who both fancy a chance of making it to the semi final or the final going at it. So that's my prediction. Hopefully it comes true.
So Dan, we heard from Pico there, expecting a strong Senegal showing, but ultimately expecting them to go through. Would you have a similar opinion?
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a few angles about England that are interesting. Like, what team will they go with? I know there's some people around the game were sort of wondering would they be sort of back four for the groups and maybe back three for the knockouts. There's been a little bit of a chat around that. Has Rashford's performance in the last game caused any kind of dilemma, or do you still go with Sterling? Similarly with sort of Foden, like Pico mentioned, say the width of say Saka and various options, but again, Jordan Henderson was up doing a bit of press this week. Are they going to go with sort of Rice and Henderson and Bellingham, or just two of them? And there's just a few little things around it. But what you have to say about England is they probably have one of the strongest benches in the competition. And even if I can envisage a scenario where Senegal, and I've mentioned this before, they definitely have the ability, and they showed it against the Dutch, they're probably learning a new way even to play without Mane, right? They as Pico mentions, Pico as a player preparing to face Senegal, sometimes what you believe to be true is true, that they were just thinking about how you stop Mane. They might play that down in the media beforehand and say, no, they've got loads of threats, but deep down, that's what they're thinking about. Senegal without that they might, maybe they're learning to operate in different ways themselves, and it might develop. Over the longer run, they might gain something from that. But I think that even if they do manage to frustrate England and take them a long way, and who knows, maybe even take them to extra time. Not that I can totally see it happening, but I wouldn't completely rule it out. But then England, in whatever scenario we're talking about there, they're able to let's say they're able to bring Foden off the bench, or Rashford off the bench, or Saka off the bench, or Grealish off the bench. If Senegal are sitting deep and they suddenly want, they're around the area, so you want someone who can do things around the box. They've got so much that I find it hard to see that shock. Funny as it would be, I would find it hard to see it happen. I don't know what your take on that is.
Yeah, again, as you said, England-France is the sort of thing that you really, you do want to see that. You want to see that game at this stage in a World Cup. I think, the Rashford one is an interesting one, because I thought in the first half the other night, I thought he was really poor. I thought he was dreadful. Getting the ball, giving it away, as you've seen sometimes at Manchester United on bad days where, teams are joining in, their players are joining in an attack. He gets the ball, tries to pass it inside, gives it away, and the opposition are attacking. And that was fine against Wales. I think it'll be punished against Senegal if he plays. But of course, he steps up, bangs in a free kick, a minute later closes down someone and sets up the second goal, and then scores another one later on. And suddenly it's Rashford been fantastic. Rashford hadn't been part of the conversation at all, really, when they were, they were poor against Iran. The conversation was Foden or Grealish. Why aren't one or both of them playing? Rashford wasn't really in the discussion. And now, from Southgate's perspective, he's in the discussion. So they have another player to add into that kind of 6 players going into the 3 behind Harry Kane. So there's obviously pressure on Southgate to get the team right. And unless they go on and win the World Cup, you can be guaranteed that in the game they lose, Southgate is going to come in for criticism for not picking whichever players that he leaves out. So if he leaves out, you'd be perfectly reasonable staying with Sterling, given what Sterling's done for him over the years, and leaving out Rashford. But if they go out, then the clamour will be, why didn't he pick Rashford, and vice versa as it goes. I do think, though, as you say, then they have kind of, what do you call them in rugby at times? You call them game changers rather than substitutes, where you have the players they can bring on they're similar, but they're slightly different enough to cause a defence a different problem. Where if you bring on Grealish for Foden, Grealish runs at them more. Grealish really engages defenders, whereas Foden tends to move the ball. So whatever scenario you need, they tend to have on the bench to bring on. So, I think it'll take them past Senegal. Whether it'll take them past France or not now, I don't know. I'm not sure. And again, there's always that defensive issue. Again, it hasn't been. Harry Maguire has been great for heading away crosses, which they have had plenty of against Wales and Iran and USA. I don't think Senegal would be as direct as those teams. So I think England's defence and Maguire are going to be asked different questions today and for the rest of the tournament as it goes.
Yeah, no, I can see your angle there on that, and I don't know, do we expect that sort of that Senegal are just going to sit off them completely, and then it becomes a case where it's more of the counter-attacking threat, and you see England sort of the defenders press on a little bit more, and because they say Maguire and Stones, that they like their passing, and that's the certain elements of why they're in the side, are that side of it. But could Senegal sort of ask them a little bit more questions, going the other way, a little bit of pace in behind them or down the sides of them or whatever, which I think we spoke about with Gary Breen last week. And yeah, there's a few ways you can look at it, but I think overall I'd imagine England should still have the quality to deal with this.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're both going for England wins there. And France and Poland, you mentioned Poland earlier on. I think of all teams that went through to the last 16, they were probably the least popular, given the way that they went through, with the potential for yellow cards, and then only went through for sure because of Saudi Arabia's goal against Mexico. I mean, Mexico and France would be something you're probably looking forward to. Poland, France, it just has that feeling of, that France will just have too much quality, and Lewandowski be like an island up there waiting to get the ball.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the game I'm going to today, so I'm hoping it's better than that. You've put me in a complete downer before I get ready to go.
Sorry.
At least I am going to a new stadium, though. It's Al Tumama, which is I'm trying to get to all 8 of the grounds. So I did 5 in the groups, but I'll be doing 6. This will be number 6. Education City is 7. I think I'll have all 8. I'm going to go to Morocco, Spain, and Education City, and then I think I'll be at all 8 by if I can get into Netherlands, Argentina next week. So. Which is up in Lusail, the final venue. But yeah, I mean, I see the Poles have been getting a bit of grief back home. It's the first time they've reached the group stages since 1986. First time they've got out of the group stages since 1986. But I think one of the reports I saw mentioned it was something along the lines of, we won't tell our grandchildren how they got there, in years to come. Like they'll just bury the true story of how they did it.
Italia 90 for Ireland almost.
Yeah. Like the Romania game was very good actually. But no, the I mean that's it. Does the end justify the means for them really? And I think their coach is sort of suggesting now that they might step things up. That effectively has said, yeah, we it was about not losing prior to now, but now we're going to go and play, and I think that was one of the headlines in the Polish papers on Thursday was along the lines of let's play ball. Like, why aren't we playing ball? So it would be great if that would be the case. I suppose we spoke a little bit about Croatia and how they behaved in the second half of the Belgian game, where suddenly they were hanging in there. And I mean, you can see the angle as to how suddenly when it flips around to, it's like you were saying, you were distracted almost by the lack of another game. And maybe like Poland always had this element in their head, with the Argentina match, whereas here everything is in front of them. Everything that they have to do is in front of them. Yeah, I expect France to go through, right? I mean, I'm not going to say anything different. But I sort of wonder, could Poland produce something a little bit better when it comes to it? And France, well, they were good against Denmark, for example. Like they did not nearly go 2-1 behind, at a key point, and their record in the Nations League and the last year and stuff's been a little bit indifferent. They did lose to Tunisia, albeit with a second string side. These knockout games, and I know it didn't happen yesterday. We had a little bit of late drama, as I said, we mentioned Argentina, Australia, but there's always a game that surprises you by being a bit closer than you think. And could this be the one? Could Poland sort of take it a little bit further? I'm still going for France to go through, but I feel like in one of the games today, are they just both going to be like yesterday, where there's a 2-goal lead for the favourite with 15 minutes to go? I'm not sure that would be the case. So maybe the Poles will push them a little bit further. They'll have that backlash to the back, that response to the criticism they've received themselves and lift their game a bit, but. Still, ultimately, with the end result, I mean, it's the great thing about. I've enjoyed watching France so far, just because it's not just about Mbappe, but it's the attention towards Mbappe. It gives Dembele opportunities, Griezmann's movement even around them. Even Rabiot, the off sort of. Slated Rabiot, yet he's got himself into a lot of decent positions. Like, he's actually been very impactful in terms of, I suppose, I don't know, is it expected goals or expected assists, or he's definitely been around the sort of business end of a lot of chances. And I think a lot of that is the anticipating the breaking ball almost around Mbappe and what comes off Mbappe. And he's been quite effective at that. So I think they'll do it, but they don't necessarily have as strong a bench as England either. So they're sort of, maybe it's more about their first 11, say, showing up rather than necessarily killing people with what they bring on later on.
Yeah. I think in terms of its expected results, then it's very much France and England to go through, but hopefully for anyone watching or even at the game, that Poland following through on their promises for a bit more of an expansive game. Thanks for listening. I'm Aidan O'Hara, and tomorrow we'll be joined on the Indo World Cup by Gary Breen to discuss Japan against Croatia and Brazil's chances as well. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.